Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the CD guy, Johnny Z here. Thank you so much for tuning back into the channel. We've got some breaking news today. Black Sabbath have announced Back to the Beginning, their final show ever. They'll be reuniting for one more concert. My only question is this a good idea? Let's talk about it. It was announced this morning by Tony Iommi and Sharon Osbourne that Black Sabbath will be reuniting for one more time on July 5th for Back to the Beginning, the final Black Sabbath concert ever, and the first show featuring the original lineup of Ozzy Osbourne, Tony Iommi, Butler, and Bill Ward in over 20 years. And Bill Ward, of course, was not a part of the final album 13, nor was he a part of the subsequent farewell tour. So it's great to hear that Bill will finally get a chance to end things with Black Sabbath the right way. And Back to the Beginning will feature sets from Metallica, Slayer, Pantera, Gojira, Halestorm, Alice in Chains, Lamb of God, Anthrax, and Mastodon. The all-day event will also feature a supergroup of musicians. Artists announced so far include Billy Corgan of the Smashing Pumpkins, David Draymond of Disturbed, Duff McKagan and Slash of GNR, Frank Bello of Anthrax, Fred Durst of Limp Bizkit, Jake E. Lee, Jonathan Davis of Korn, KK Downing, Lizzie Hale of Halestorm, Mike Borden of Faith No More, Rudy Sarzo, Sammy Hagar, Scott Ian of Anthrax, Papa 5, Perpetua, that's very interesting there, new frontman of Ghost, the new Papa, we'll get into that in a little bit, Tom Morello of formerly Rage Against the Machine, Wolfgang Van Halen, and Zakk Wylde. So this has all the makings of one of the biggest metal shows ever, and so there's a lot to talk about here. It's very interesting stuff, and of course, you have that stacked bill before Sabbath go on last. I think the biggest question for me, now that this has been announced, this is a massive show, right? But the biggest question for me has got to be, is this really a good idea for Black Sabbath to be doing at their age? And on paper, it sounds awesome, but we don't know what Ozzy's limitations are at this point. We know he's been in declining health for quite some time now. Will Ozzy be able to get through the set? Will he be standing or will he be seated? How long will Sabbath play for? I think loading up this bill with a ton of bands prior to Sabbath going on definitely do take the pressure off of Black Sabbath and Ozzy to deliver this huge headlining set. I don't expect the band to go 90 minutes up there or anything like that. Ozzy himself is playing his own short set before taking the stage with Sabbath, so it's going to be really interesting to see how they go about organizing this show. In terms of how the band are going to sound, I almost feel like that's the least important thing here. Obviously you don't want them to go up there and embarrass themselves, but at the same time, don't expect the same Black Sabbath from their prime, of course, but don't expect the same Black Sabbath even from, the farewell tour several years ago, right? This is about ending things on a high note, playing one last gig with Bill Ward and playing what's most likely the last time Ozzy will ever take the stage. This is a celebration of Black Sabbath, and so unless it's some, abominably bad performance, which I don't think they'd allow it to be, I wouldn't criticize it too much, but hey, you never know. You put those four guys on stage together again, and it could be like time had never passed. Set list-wise, I wouldn't expect anything too out of the ordinary. It'll most likely be a greatest hits set, so you can expect tracks like Paranoid, Children of the Grave, Black Sabbath, War Pigs, Iron Man, etc. I don't expect them, to be breaking out any deep cuts. I don't expect Ozzy to be belting out Symptom of the Universe or anything like that. If I were putting together a Dream Sabbath set list, it would obviously look a lot different, but you have to be practical here, right? And, it'd be nice, to get some mention on this show of Ronnie James Dio and Tony Martin, in the years they gave to Sabbath, since this is the last show in the history of the band, but I wouldn't hold my breath for it. Some other interesting notes about this show, which will be taking place in Villa Park. Really, this has the makings of one of the biggest metal shows of all time. But some other really interesting notes here, at least for me. Slayer will be playing another one-off set, which is very cool. Jake E. Lee, former Ozzy guitarist, will be on the same bill as Ozzy, and so it'll be awesome to see Jake E. Lee up there with Ozzy, during Ozzy's solo set. But, again, don't hold your breath for that. And then today's announcement also leaked the name of the new Ghost Papa, Papa 5, Perpetua, and, we still don't know what he's going to look like, and, he will be performing with Ghost on this show, but it's some cool news for Ghost fans there as well as we get ready for, the new tour and hopefully a new album announcement very soon as well. But going back to Sabbath here, I absolutely understand the opinions of people that think, that Black Sabbath should just be left alone, but I'm looking at this show as more of a celebration of their entire career and their legacy, and one last chance to see the four original guys on stage together, playing one more time, and most likely this is Ozzy's last ever live show, but unlike Kiss and what Kiss did at their final show, and again, I gotta throw some shade at Kiss, even though I love Kiss, unlike what they did, Sabbath had the chance to, give the fans one final lasting image of the final four original members on stage together to end their careers, and that's just the way to go out. I didn't like how they went out with the farewell tour without Bill Ward, so this kind of gives closure to that whole thing. We get Ozzy up there maybe for the last time with Geezer and Tony, and then of course Bill Ward behind the kit. Just a really perfect way to end out their career, and of course, they're set. We'll see what it is, but I don't have very high expectations for it. Don't expect the Sabbath of old, but expect a nostalgia show and expect a really cool visual of the band up there, saying goodbye and giving us, one last really cool show. So that wraps up this video here. Just wanted to share my thoughts real quick on Black Sabbath announcing Back to the Beginning, their final show ever, and a reunion with Bill Ward for the first time in 2 decades, which is very cool. And on top of Sabbath, being the headlining act here, and that's, of course, the biggest takeaway. But there are also a lot of fantastic bands on this bill, and this really does, like I said, has the makings of being, one of the biggest metal shows of all time. We'll see what happens, but I'll definitely be reviewing it here on the channel. Tickets go on sale on Friday, February 14th at 10 a.m. on Ticketmaster, so I'm sure, if you're in the UK, Birmingham area, this is something that, a lot of Black Sabbath fans are going to want to take the trip for, and, all over the world. I'm sure people are going to be flying in for this show. It's a pretty big deal, and so I'm definitely going to be, paying attention. I won't be able to attend, but I'm sure it'll be up on YouTube in no time, and so I'll definitely be planning on reviewing it for the channel, so definitely want to stay tuned for that. Turn on the bell for notifications so you don't miss that review when it drops this summer. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel down below, and let me know down in the comment section below, because I'm sure this is going to be some sort of a polarizing topic amongst Black Sabbath fans. Is this a good idea? Should Sabbath have just left things alone, or do you think this is a good idea for Sabbath to go on stage one more time, considering Ozzy's health and the fact that they haven't played with Bill Ward in so long? Let me know down below. Do you think this is the right way to end it? I want to hear from you. And until next time, it's the CD guy, Johnny Z, signing off. Take care, everybody.